The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up. To stand up and fight back. Welcome to another episode of Speak Up. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Avard, and we started the show a number of years back. And speaking of a few years back, we have a guest who's visited us, who's been on the show a couple of times with another person, and she's back. And I want to welcome Lynn Briggs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Good
to see you again.
So,
we keep bumping into each other here, there, and everywhere.
Well, it's good to see that you seem to be on the, I hate to say the word rebound, but you seem to be.
I'm on the mend.
You're on the mend.
I'm on the mend.
And I think, going back to your story, this was a situation where you and Carol were out on a job. You were EMTs and
She's a paramedic, and I was an intermediate at the time.
And you were doing a job, and you both got attacked in the line of duty.
Correct.
And there was injuries, and there were just a whole number of things. And we're not going to go into the detail of what happened there, but you were really victimized in your work area, and it took a toll on your life.
Yes, it did.
It took a toll on Carol's life, and you've done some research with KIP T-Cert.
Right, DT4 EMS.
Yeah, and they've basically show nationally what happens to first responders, whether it's in your occupation or firefighters or even police officers.
Right. The statistics are, since we're right on that spot, EMS providers, 911 EMS specifically providers, are being assaulted at a 52% rate nationally, which is actually higher than police and fire combined for an assault rate, which is very, very high. Kip has also, he was a police officer and he became a medic. And he was actually, I guess you'd call it ambulance jacked when he was a medic. So this is how he knew it firsthand and began this business of tracking assaults across the United States. He also has a lot of people in other countries that feed him information. And this is how he has come up with these statistics and become the expert that he is in the field. So EMS is at a 52% assault rate. When he does his defensive classes, and they're defensive classes very specifically, 80 to almost 100% of every one of his students, when he says, has anybody been assaulted, they raise their hands.
Really?
So the reporting rate in his classes of people saying they'd been assaulted is almost at 100%.
Now, what's the typical type of assault? Is it just totally varied?
It ranges. It can be from being spit at, bitten, stabbed, shot, choked out. You can be beaten, like physically beaten against the ground. You can have your arms broken, which is what happened to us. Ligaments torn off, eyes gouged out. I mean, you name it. It's physical abuse.
All in the process of trying to help somebody.
All in the process of responding to a medical emergency.
Now, are a lot of these violent acts because of drugs or just mental illness?
I don't have the exact percentages. Kip would have that, but I would say no, not always. And in our case, it was no drugs, no alcohol.
Mental illness.
That was the excuse made along, but at the time in the first 6 months, 9 months, no, there was no mental illness till people jumped in and decided that was the way to go.
And how dangerous is being bit? Yeah, that sounds like a dumb question, but
Well, it actually isn't, because my partner was bitten, and she was bitten right through to the bone. So you're exposed to hepatitis, AIDS, you name it. So, you're tested, your blood is tested for 6 to 9 months afterwards. Any disease, you could be easily transmitted right through the wound, and it's a pretty severe wound.
and it's a nationwide problem.
It's a nationwide problem.
Before we get into let me just think about this now. Being a nationwide problem, there's also an after effect of post-traumatic.
Right, you have post-traumatic stress syndrome. And to many people, they say, oh, no, that's just, and I did, that's just what soldiers, our military, deal with. Had absolutely no idea, no concept, have heard of it, but had no concept that is what we, as assault victims, anybody as an assault victim, could have. And it took, I guess, a good 9 months for me to realize, gee, I'm really angry, or gee, I'm very frustrated, I'm not sleeping,
It's got a
I'm
lot of
not
rent in
eating.
your head. It's just, it's taken residency.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't just happen and, we can fluff it off.
No. It seeps in, and especially when you're being denied in the court systems, when you're being denied by your employer, when people, look at you and say, your face is fine, no big deal. Well, I'm at 11, 13 surgeries. Some claim they're related, and they're all related, but between Carol and I think we're well over 20 for bumps, bruises, and lacerations is the official
And then,
report.
of course, the emotional scars, and like you said, not getting the recognition.
No validation, no recognition.
Right. Victims' rights is really a myth.
Well, victims' rights exist if they want you to have them. The biggest problem that I discovered, and it took a good 3 to 4 years, because in going through the system and having so many surgeries, they run out the clock. Purposely, they run out the clock. And when we were denied any information with a prosecutor, denied any information, it was just taken over for us. It takes a while for you to catch up with what's going on and to figure out, well, what were my rights? So essentially, right now, today, from day one till today, my civil rights were denied. My 14th Amendment to due process, totally denied. And to this day, I'm being told there's a statute of limitations. Can't get a straight answer on that. I didn't know when your civil rights were denied that's it, you're done, shut up, go away. But apparently that happens nationwide. It happens here in New Hampshire. To those rates I was telling you about, the 80 to 100% people that raise their hand when someone says, were you assaulted, and that any of that list that I gave to you. Here's the really scary part. Only 2 to 3% are reported to the employer or make it to court.
Of all those, really? That's amazing.
Because the employers, the police, the prosecutors, whoever's involved, workman's comp, the Department of Labor, it's part of your job description. It is not part of our job description.
They didn't put it enumerate.
Nope.
At any
But that's
point.
the excuse. That's what their pushback is. And the other issue is we also have Firebased EMS, which we were not. Firebased means you're a firefighter. You're also EMS. You've got the double training. So what they do when those medical people, the firefighter EMTs, are assaulted, they say, oh, that is part of your job description. And that's how they wangle through it. But they've been trying to push it, and they have been pushing it on private EMS. So if a firefighter
is acting as an EMS.
Right. Well, it's even when they get injured as a firefighter, if they fall through the floor, I'm trying to make sure that I have this straight, they fall through the floor, that's part of their job because there was a fire. Or if there's ice outside and the water's there and they slip, well, that's part of the job.
That's interesting.
And
So
that's really
there
scary.
are all kinds of risks
Right.
that the general public doesn't know. So the reason I wanted you to come on the show, because we saw you at an activity not too long ago, and it's nice to see you thriving, even though you've gone through a hellish 7 years.
Yep.
Just to start this out, a bunch of kids came to the Capitol. And there's actually a special school for kids that suffer depression.
Oh, okay.
And I started talking to the kids, and I said, one of the best things that helps when you're feeling depressed or you're going through some really trying times is when you start helping other people. And that's a real good therapy. And it was, I think, a really good message for them. And I couldn't help but think of what you're doing. You went through a really tough time. And now you've gone from victim to victim's advocate. You even have your own radio show here. And that's one I want to talk about.
Yes.
So,
well, let me back up to the depression and the PTSD. What I found going through this event, this assault, is that I found I was having to fight for myself, and I was finding out facts, and I was fighting for Carol, and fighting for the both of us, and it turned into fighting for others that had no voice. Because along the way we found other people that had been assaulted, not as EMTs or anything like that, but assaulted, and the county prosecutor had dumped them as well. He had null-prossed their cases. He had actually accused them of more crimes when they were in court. So that's how it really started. It wasn't just us. I was seeing other cases where this particular county prosecutor in Hillsborough was breaking the law, was taking advantage of his position. And that's what really got me going, and then investigating back into ours and saying, well, wait a minute, you can't do that. Well, yeah, you can, because he's appointed and he got away with it. It made it all the way to the top. It made it to the governor. Nothing they can do. He's appointed, blah, 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 slap his hand. Here we go again. Look at what we're looking at in with politicians and what's going on, and the just not listening to people. So that's how I got started. So when you start to help people, it stops you from being at 100, at being me, oh my gosh, this is the worst for me, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it brings you back to a middle place where you can look at people that are worse than you can look at people that are not as bad as you, and you can say, all right, I won this battle, I lost that battle, but I won these two battles. So when you put that with depression, you put that with PTSD, you put it with an event like us as becoming survivors and no longer being victims, it puts things into perspective. Okay. And so that's what we did, is everything became perspective. I met with you, we came in and I did the show, and it taught me more. And every time I'd meet somebody else, I'd learn another fact, and then I'd be able to apply it to somebody else. And then online I met Kip Teetsort of DT4 EMS, and I now advocate with him. He does it on Facebook, so I'm always writing on Facebook. I'm always sharing on Facebook. I've met so many people, other medics and EMTs that were assaulted. So we all are in the same place. We're all spreading the word. We're all trying to help other people. We're trying to get this out. So yes, I agree with you 100%. Anybody that is suffering that way, the more people you help, the more you understand about yourself and your situation.
And it does kind of take the focus off you a little bit to get out of that trap.
Well, you can stand out and you can look back at yourself. Yeah. It sounds stupid, but I've done it, and you can take a step back and go, okay, wait a minute.
So your show, though, isn't necessarily about victimhood. It's pretty much you basically evolved, if you will, into, okay, now you're a talk show host with Karen Testerman.
Yeah, well, she had me on the show to talk about what was going on with me, and we ended up co-hosting First Principles on Thursday. And then we got an opportunity because 1590 WSMN was bought out.
Here in Nashua?
Here in Nashua, yep. 1590 AM in Nashua. Nashua's source for news and talk. So we were approached by George, yes, and he said, hey, you guys, I want you 5 days a week. So we drew up a contract this spring, and we're doing 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 to 12 noon. And
now, people, if they like your show, they can also sponsor it and advertise on it. Is that
absolutely,
correct?
Yes. Okay. We're looking, since it's brand new, and it's going to be expanding. We've got some really exciting things going on come July with WSMN. We're going to be getting some up close and personal with the public, so I'll leave it at that. But some really exciting news. but what we did was we went from first principles and we renamed it, and I had quite a bit to do with it, Conservative Chick Chat. So we went a little wild, and
Are you a conservative?
I am.
Okay.
But when you listen to our intro, it's not right, it's not left, it's everything in between. So conservative views on all sorts of things. We bring people from both sides in. We want to hear both sides. We want to educate people. Nice. It's about
fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're having a great time. We started the beginning of May, so second week of May. So this is our third week, and we're having a blast.
So what time is it on?
11 till 12 noon every day. And right now, because we're trying to get all our guests and advertisers and sponsors and people interested in really local business, local politics, getting the news out to Nashua. It's very much about Nashua, and we reach, northern Massachusetts, Merrimack, and little edges. They're going to be boosting the signal. It's going to be reaching more people, but really focusing on Nashua. Businesses that opened, the local ballet bar that opened where the old Salvation Army Goodwill was, they came on last week. I've had focusing also on women's views, women's jobs, women's politics, how we deal with stuff, how we think about it. We do have men on. We're not sexist. So we just love having everybody on. But the focus of the hosts for the week, we're all women.
Interesting.
Yeah, promoting women and promoting Nashua and.
And you're keeping on top of legislation and things like that.
Oh, absolutely. We had Janine Nutter come on, and she was talking about the fetal homicide,
SB
66,
yep.
right?
That's Senator Regina Birdsell's bill.
Yes, and understand that made it to the House, if I'm understanding that.
I think it's passed.
Yep, and we're thinking that's passed, but we're very excited about it because a lot of people immediately jump to the idea that, it's about Planned Parenthood, and it's not. It has nothing to do with it. So we as women are saying, no, this is about if a woman's pregnant and going to carry a baby to term, and she's murdered or, something terrible happens.
And she intended on having the baby.
And she intended on having the baby. And the baby is killed, that it's considered fetal homicide. It's not,
you
a
took
sad
something
event.
very, very precious
You took
to
something
somebody.
precious. So very excited about that. So
the governor's going to be signing my bill tomorrow. So today is June 6th, so tomorrow's June 7th. And SB 9, which has to do with the rape shield bill.
Okay.
And that had to do with that young lady that was murdered and raped. And the guy who was in prison wanted an appeal. And so he appealed, and in the process of his appeal, the courts changed rules, and they really, again, rule changing with the courts. But the bottom line is he was using her past sexual history as part of his defense and his appeal. And I thought that was unconscionable that the courts would even allow that. So I put in a bill that stops that.
So that's SB
9.
SB 9.
Yeah,
all right. So I'll definitely talk about that tomorrow morning.
And Governor Sununu is signing my bill tomorrow.
Yay.
And I'm grateful. I mean, it's really
well. It's extremely important. And it kind of throws a damper on, women aren't getting equal attention, equal whatever, which seems to be the left's mantra. And here you are furthering, making sure that that's not used against women, just as it shouldn't be used against men.
Correct.
And I thought that was all said and done, but apparently not.
No, and so I filed the bill, and it passed the Senate, I think on a voice, maybe a roll call, but we had some trouble in the House. There were some members that were struggling with it, but they eventually passed it, and it passed with my language, so that I believe it's going to be the strongest in the country.
Nice.
Yeah, and it'll help the victims because victims need people looking after them.
Exactly.
And, it's not just hearsay, not just talk. You got to actually put some. You
got to put some teeth in it. You actually have to have something that you can hang on to, and that's what I found out is there's nothing to hang on to. I had nothing. It's you're a victim. You go, nice lady, sit down, shut up. That's kind of where it is, and nobody wants to get their hands dirty.
Now, this show isn't necessarily just about victims. It's also about just common sense things everything.
Everything that's going on. There is no limit. We have people on talking about the Constitution. We have people talking about local businesses. It's everything to do with Nashua, the education, the schools, bills being passed in Concord. It's everything to do with New Hampshire, trying to keep it really, really local with Nashua, but no problem reaching out to Washington as it affects New Hampshire, reaching out to California as, you know, what that thinking may affect us, Concord. So it all comes back to how does it affect us.
I think it's very important because sometimes the news can just give you so much.
Yeah, it can give you heartburn.
And it can give you heartburn too, a lot of times. But it's nice that there are actually people talking about it, and you can glean some good information, another perspective.
My thing is break it down. Karen is a very, very smart lady, and she ran for governor. She ran for Senate. So I mean,
I believe her husband is a state rep.
He is a state rep. Yes, David is. And so very, very smart lady, knows a lot of people, really knows the ins and out, how to get around. And so she's, you know, really teaching me a lot. And I come to it with communications, being able to talk to people. And my thing is break it down.
Right.
Keep it simple.
For us, yeah.
You know, as Gene Nutter said, you know, runs around saying SB 66, and I'm going, huh? What? SB 9?
Oh
what?
my gosh, it's
There's
funny.
Too many numbers.
There's
Give me the
1,000
name.
bills. There's
Yes.
at least 1,000, 1,100 bills, and because I'm chair of rules, I have to sign every one of them before the governor signs it. I get to sign every piece of. But think about it. Somebody throws you, hey, what's HB 46 or HB 465 or 562 or 225 or 129 or 128? He throws you for a loop, and you wonder. People don't realize how many bills that are up there that you're not getting the information on. You're not getting the whole full story.
Really?
The governor signed a firecracker bill, my firecracker bill. Yay, firecrackers are allowed in New Hampshire now.
Yay.
Well, if you notice, every year firecrackers still go off,
Yes.
whether they're legal or not. So what we did is we allowed the merchants here in New Hampshire, the retail industry, to sell the smallest size firecrackers so that people wouldn't go to Maine or other states
And bring them back
and
into
bring them
the
back
state.
here because they're coming here anyway.
Anyway, so you might as well have the local merchants being able to
It's a
sell
pro-
it and have a little bit more
Right.
control.
It's a pro-business
Yeah.
industry.
Absolutely.
But the way you have it, people tweet and they talk about, oh my gosh, live free or die without your fingers. These aren't strong enough to blow off your fingers. Well, they're annoying, and what about this and that? And, well, what about the loud motorcycles? Come on, give me a break.
There's always something.
There's always
Right.
something, but to talk about the...
Well, the live free and die, I mean, the whole thing is not to have that much government, so
Correct.
goodness.
Right. It's such a small bill, but it's funny how things get distorted.
Yes.
The budget, I'm sure you'll be talking about things like that. but-
Definitely. Well, we just had Peter Hansen on Friday.
Yep, Peter.
And he has
Representative
Peter Hansen, and he had Elizabeth Ropp on. And I was looking at her while we were waiting to go in, and she's looking at me, and we were talking, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, Lynn, is that you?" And I went, "Elizabeth?"
Who is she?
And and Peter's like, "You know each other?" And I'm like, "Yes." Well, she was my acupuncturist.
Oh,
So
we
in
had a bill on that.
Right. So
Right.
alternative methods
Yeah.
with PTSD,
Right.
with neuropathy, pain, and that kind of stuff. I wandered out into that world, and it was fabulous. I learned so much
About acupuncture?
acupuncture and how absolutely incredible
Some
it is.
people swear by it, some people don't, it's...
It has to. A lot of it has to do with if you can actually sit down and relax and stay still. You can't be a super A-type personality and be bopping around, which I was, so I learned to be very quiet. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years. It's absolutely miraculous.
Cool.
So Elizabeth, being a licensed acupuncturist, was looking around and saying, well, there's 5 spots on the ears that you can put, if you're not an acupuncturist, you can do seeds that they can teach you, but eventually you want the acupuncturist needles. And I hate saying needles because they're like little hairs, and I'm the biggest chicken, so let me tell you, I just would like turn white and pass out or throw up when she'd do that, but got over it really quick because they're little hairs, they're pointy little hairs. But they're 5 spots on your ear that works with withdrawal, anxiety, PTSD, cravings,
Really?
all of those things. So how perfect in a state that is really in an opioid crisis.
And they want to use that to help with the opioid.
So right. So what she was trying to do was get a bill passed that would allow, I believe it's anybody, but medical people like I could do it, EMS, take this 70-hour course, become certified, not licensed, certified, to only do the 5 spots on the ear, so we could go out to safe stations.
I believe we passed it.
I hope so. There was an amendment put on it.
There's all kinds of amendments.
Right,
yeah.
and so I think there's something in the wording, and it changes it quite a bit. So they're working on it.
Well, we passed it in the Senate. I'm not really sure what the House has done.
Right.
But
So that's where it is with an amendment, and they're
Yeah.
trying to fix it because they're still stuck.
Time's
on those little
almost
spots.
up, so we'll probably have a committee of conference on it.
Let's hope so.
But so that's great. So
that's another subject.
Bills
Yeah.
that'll come before, and you'll be able to talk about that. You'll be able to talk about local businesses and general topics, and you're welcoming businesses to either advertise on
Absolutely.
the show.
Like I said,
How do they get in touch with you?
They just contact us at 816-1590.
1590.
So how easy is that?
That's
You can
1590
also,
AM.
AM, yes.
You wear the
And-
headphones and everything like that.
Oh,
right?
headphones, yep. And we have a camera and we live stream.
Oh, really? Okay.
So a whole bunch of things are really, we're getting into the 21st century. It's going to be very, very exciting. Watch for July. It's going to be a huge grand opening and all sorts of things going on.
Now, who does the engineering? Is that George?
No, George is busy doing his show from 6 to 9. So we have Mike and we have a couple new guys that just started.
Okay.
And sorry, I forget names. That's one of the things that I'm working on. And they're awesome. And we have a great time and chit-chat and, chit-chat. You can also reach us on Conservative Chick Chat, and that's a mouthful because we keep saying chit-chat, and it's chick
Chick-chat. Chick-chat.
So we chit-chat on Chick Chat.
Chick-chat. Sounds good.
So we have a Facebook, we have blogs, and we're getting those all up and running, so it's going to be very exciting.
It sounds like it's going to be
And
fun.
you have to come on.
I plan on it.
I know, you better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd
when you get out of Concord and get a few hours to yourself.
Yeah, well, things will be settling, so I'll be back to carpet cleaning pretty shortly. So, anyway, so again, how do they reach you? It's through.
Through 1590 AM in Nashua, and you can reach us at 603-816-1590 or Conservative Chick Chatting on Facebook.
And that's to either advertise on the show or to actually be on the show.
Be on the show. We'd love to have you on the show. Come on. See how much fun it is. We're doing businesses, professions, events, you name it. We have Wacky Fridays where we have fitness and facials and fashion, and yes, we do that crazy stuff.
Facials.
No men's rompers,
No,
though.
okay. Or buns.
No man buns.
No man buns. All right. Thanks for watching Speak Up. If you want to be on the show, please look her up, and if you want to advertise, that'd be a wonderful thing too. Help out a local business starting up and helping out other people in the process. So until next week, thanks for watching Speak Up.
Thank you for watching Speak Up, and we want to thank our sponsor, Avard, the Dean of Clean, the carpet cleaner in the Nashua area. If you want to contact them, call 603-521-7657. Thanks for watching. Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up. To stand up and fight back.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.